vet the resources that we would go through to pick the ones that would ultimately end up on our website. I used a combination of materials that I found from EL Education and from other places where have very similar educational missions that Green Schools National Network has. And a lot of that is built around not just education for sustainability, but also deeper learning and integrated curriculum and project-based and problem-based learning. So what we ended up doing was looking at things, not just deeper learning and integrated curriculum, but also do these resources align with standards? And we're talking about Common Core, next generation science standards, the 3 C's framework for college career. And I forget the third one. But anyway, standards was one of the first ones. Deeper learning, integrated curriculum, 21st century skill building. Do the resources encourage creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, communication? And then to frame sort of the entire process for the lesson. Is it inquiry based? Are students asking questions, conducting research, gathering data, using that data to come up with solutions? Is there choice and voice involved for students? Do they get to be able to pick what they can do in terms of their final project? Is there an authenticity component? Does it relate back to a real world issue? Are they solving a real world problem? So those were some very important things for us to look for in our resources. And Dave, if you could go to the next page, or I'm sorry, go back a page or two. Yeah, that's great. So we curated resources from a database of resources we developed for our membership, and also from our PD professional development collaborative partners. Using this criteria that we developed to vet some of the lessons and resources that they had on their websites. And we came up with a small set of resources that we have grouped by K through 5 and 6 through 12 on our website. You can see right there the resources for grades K through 5. We have not all on the same page. So we wanted to make it real easy for you to see who's it from and what grade band and a little bit about the lesson itself. So when you actually click on the resource, this is the page you'll be taken to, and you can get a little bit more information about the actual lesson. And then you'd click on the view lesson button, and Dave, if you'd go ahead one more, it takes you to the lesson, and you can download it, use it as is, or modify to your needs. We really made an effort to find resources that were appropriate or that could be easily adapted for virtual and at-home learning. So yeah, that's how the whole process sort of went to get to where we are right now with our resource page.
Unmute myself. Yeah, thank you, Cindy. So that process for us as an organization, Ecorise and Christy will talk about a lot of their resources that they have to offer. They've done a lot of work in creating and designing these resources. We, on the other hand, haven't done that work. We are just doing this work of sifting some really good things that are out there. We're going to continue to add to that to our website. And I know there was a question from a participant. We'll make sure you have the link to get to it, but you will find it on the Green Schools National Network website, a link that says resources. You can find all those things very easily. Now we're going to get to hear from Christy from Ecorise. It's a wonderful organization that we're partnered, PD Collaborative. They do amazing work. Christy will tell us a little bit about the organization and some of the resources that they have to offer. Thanks for being with us, Christy.
Let me unmute myself. I'm hoping that my internet stays stable today. I'm so happy to be with all of y'all today, and it's really great to see so many folks on. I know that this is an unprecedented time for all of us, and so we recognize this time is very valuable, and so we appreciate you spending it with us, and I'm really happy to be here. I am going to screen share. I'm going to introduce, so I'd like to do is just introduce who we are as an organization and kind of some of the basic services that we provide. And then I'm going to jump into some more like specific remote / virtual resources that we have available to you as teachers and for your parents. So I've sent all of this information to David in a really nice email that he can follow up with everybody with all of the hyperlinks so that you can access all of these things, as well as my email address, so that any questions that you have, they can be fresh in your inbox after this is over. So give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and screen share with y'all. Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Or maybe David, if you can give me a thumbs up. Great, thanks. Let me take it from the beginning. So I hope that I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we are an 11-year-old educational nonprofit. We started out in Austin, Texas, just working with high school students, kind of as actually working with students. The whole idea behind our organization is to tap into the creativity and the innovation of students to help them become problem solvers for their world right here, right now. We want to empower students to be able to understand the unique challenges that each community faces, especially in this day and age with climate issues that are very important to us, but also very unique sustainability issues that are very unique to certain communities. When we think about West Texas, we think about water. When you think about New York City, we think about air pollution. And so we're really empowering those students to understand their world as it relates to them right here and right now. So we provide, as an 11-year-old nonprofit, most of us who work for the organization, except for our operations manager and our media specialist, we were all educators in some way, shape, or form. So I was a middle school teacher, a science teacher. I've also been an instructional coach, and my background is in educational leadership. And so a lot of the curricula that we develop, our curriculum specialist that leads that team has written many different science books, including environmental books. So we all kind of come at this through a lens of for educators by educators. And so it's what really makes kind of some of our programming really strong and impactful, because we've been there before. So just to kind of briefly share, we actually provide a wide array of curricula. So we provide K through 12 standards aligned. I know that Cindy mentioned the Common Core. So all of our materials are aligned to the Common Core, Next Generation Science Standards, several different environmental standards, as well as we have a standards alignment that are statewide. So in Texas, we're based out of Texas, but we're coast to coast. We do not have the next gen, we have the TEKS. So in Texas, they are aligned, all the lessons are aligned to TEKS. And so in different states, we have alignment documents for all of those, because we know that even though these can be tied to science and social studies and ELA and all of these other things, we know that at the end of the day, principals want to know how this fits into your scope and sequence, and so we provide that for you. But we provided a wide array of curriculum. So I'll talk about our Sustainable Intelligence program in just a moment, because that's kind of the one where we're going to be sharing some of those resources. But we have a K through 12 sustainability-based resource that covers water, waste, air, energy, food, public spaces, which can include biodiversity, art, social justice. We have Design Studio, which is a suite of lessons that actually, when you think about doing anything over it as an umbrella, this Design Studio is really what are the actual activities you use to get students to innovate? It's the design thinking process, but in student-friendly form, to get them to kind of slow down and really think about problem solving and collaboration and communication. We also have an entrepreneurship curriculum, biomimicry, a really robust lead prep program for our high school students that includes sitting for their Lead Green Associates credential. And we also have an internship pilot that provides paid internships for students. And then we have a project-based learning academy where we live in that space. That's actually part of my graduate background and my work with the University of Texas. But we help teachers take that project-based learning or problem-based learning or experiential learning umbrella, and we help them understand how to tie those lessons and kind of that design thinking underneath that umbrella. So it's kind of a short and sweet of what we do. There's a lot more, as I'm sure you can imagine. Very specifically, the resources that I'm about to talk about and share with you do come from our Sustainable Intelligence program. So it is a K through 12 program that we have pre-K teachers that use it as well. It's in English and in Spanish, and it is designed around standards, but it is based off of 7 eco themes. So water, waste, food, air, energy, public spaces, and water. And once again, it is standards aligned. We also do in addition to the curriculum, we provide teacher training and support. And then in some of our regions, in our funded regions, we have what's called a student innovation fund. So students can actually tackle a sustainability issue on their campus, and they can write to us for grant funds. It's a student application process. It is not a teacher application process. It is legitimately the students answering the questions, the students going out and gathering data about an issue on their campus, and then using that data, analyzing that data to really figure out what problem they can solve, and then using design thinking to come up with a feasible solution that includes stakeholders, that includes an itemized budget, and that includes all the pieces to kind of really create a sustainable long-term plan for their campus. Kind of a little bit about who we are. And David, if you can flag me if there's any questions, I'm happy to just pop in and I'm happy to answer any. So specifically, all of our curriculum is housed online. So pivoting to remote and virtual learning is something that is kind of a very easy fit for us, because a lot of what we do, we work with teachers all over the country. We work with rural teachers. And so we often do provide a lot of these things already. But very specifically, what I've shared with David is we have personal eco audits in our freemium lessons. We have some parent resources. We are hosting webinars, and we have a PBL at home guide. So I'm actually going to reshare my screen, and I'm going to share some of these with you. So give me 1 second. Okay, can y'all see my screen now, David? You can give me a thumbs up. I can see your face, so that's why I'm relying on you for support. So our freemium content, the link to this is available through the email that David has available to all of y'all. Y'all could also go to our website, ecorise.com. or .org. This is available to anyone, and it is a platform of lessons that are free to any teacher. So you'll see that there are sample lessons from our Sustainable Intelligence program. There are many of those. We have those available in Spanish. You'll find some biomimicry design challenges, our business of social good. You'll find sample lessons, and then our robust water footprint calculator. But the thing that is uniquely special about these is we've provided these for parents as well. And so one of the things that we have done in our personal audits, we've put all of our personal eco audits online. When you click into these, and I believe the water audit and the personal waste audit are shared directly on the platform that Cindy spoke about. David, is that correct? Great. So if you were to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we're adding to our different things, so they might not see it right yet, Christy, but I would say go to your site to find it directly for right now, and then we'll might see it there later.
Right. And so either way, whether you get to them through the platform Cindy mentioned, you can also go to them for here. So if you were to go to the personal waste audit, all of our lessons have very detailed lesson plans. And so our lesson plans include the standards. Our lesson plans include how you would want to check the time, background information. And so these are all things that you can utilize to make really easy instructions for your students as students do these audits at home. We have objectives, we have cross-curricular connections in all of these. And then for our personal audits, This is something that teachers can actually take and put on their Google Classroom. When you download this, it actually is a PDF fillable form. So you can put it right on your Google Classroom, and the students can fill it out either on their cell phones or their Chromebooks or whatever thing that students have. We also have teachers, I know in Austin ISD, where my son goes to school, not every kid, right now they're working on one-on-one Chromebooks, but until then, kids who don't have access to online learning, they are utilizing, they're downloading these and adding them to their packets. And so a lot of these align to our springtime standards with a lot of our science TEKs. So that's a really awesome resource that's available to you. The other thing that I wanted to share is a at-home learning resources for parents, and we are going to be adding these. We're going to be adding some kind of how-tos featuring my wonderful 7-year-old son, since I'm also homeschooling at this time as well as a full-time job. So as well as some of the other, some other like tips and tricks for parents. But essentially the parents can go straight to the water audit to do with their kids. They can go straight to the Spanish. They can also access the freemium. And then we are in the process right now of creating a document that kind of highlights all the games and the family fun activities. Another resource that David is going to share with y'all is we coordinated with iDialogue. It's an international organization. iDialogue, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar, but it's a platform where students get to practice their English skills by interacting with other students across the world. And so we have coordinated with them to launch an iDialogue challenge that is a remote challenge. It is essentially our waste audit, but they have put it into very student-friendly terms. And so the students can go on here and see exactly what to do. They have their materials list, and then they have step-by-step instructions. And so the students can do that Ecorise personal audit, they can record a video, and then they can actually get feedback on that video from students across the world, which is a very exciting thing at this time. I think what we are seeing, we have students that are doing some of their virtual audits and things like that. I've had the pleasure of meeting with 3 different groups of students, which is also something that we're more than happy to do. We've gone in while students have their virtual sessions with their teachers, and we've helped students finish out their eco audits and finish out some of the stuff that they're doing. And what we're finding is that the students, this is empowering students and showing students that even though we're kind of powerless during this part of our lives right now, some choices have been taken away from us, students still have the power to make a difference. So those are the resources that I wanted to share with y'all. And once again, these are all, I've sent David all of this. We do have funded regions. If you're in New York, DC, Sacramento, Florida, Miami, Louisiana, Houston, Austin, Rio Grande Valley, rural Texas, there's a couple of others. You have access to all of our sustainable intelligent programs, including the grant funds. And I'll make sure I follow up with David to tell him what regions are fully funded so that you can participate in those as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. That was a good, fast run through. You're right on time too. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So undoubtedly, those of you who are on the call can see that Ecorise has a lot of resources and a lot of work that they put in to make those high quality. And for the most part, because for us as an organization, we have just a limited number of resources that we put on, but go to Ecorise to get all those things that Christy just went through. And that's where you're going to find all those materials. We'll make sure, can you put that link in the chat window, Christy, for everybody? So
I sure will. And I want to say that if you aren't an offended region and this is just something you're absolutely in love with, the whole curriculum is only $40, but we can also help you find a scholarship. We do have funders that kind of open up to scholarships. And so I'm all about figuring out a way to make it happen for you. So if having everything is something that's appealing to you, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. We're going to transition to Jessica. We've got both Jessica and Andrea we want to hear from. And Jessica has some different types of resources. She's out in California. She'll tell you a little bit about her organization and some of the things that you all could potentially use too. Jessica, welcome.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. It's really exciting for me to be here with you all today. Looking forward to chatting about my organization, Strategic Energy Innovations. We also go by SEI. So let me see. I think you should be able to see my screen now. Okay, perfect. So let's see. SEI is a nonprofit organization. We are based in Marin County in California, as David mentioned. And a lot of our work, we have programs funded throughout the state of California, especially for K-12 high school teachers. But similar to Christy, we are really excited to be able to share these. So if you're interested in anything, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to figure out how we can support you as best we can, no matter what state or grade you teach. Our mission as an organization at SEI is to build leaders that drive sustainability solutions. And we have identified a couple different ways to do this. We have 4 flagship programs focusing on K-12 education, higher education, and career workforce development. So the project that I'm going to be talking about today and the resources that are relevant to y'all are our Energize Schools program, where we focus on curriculum development for K-12 students and implementation support for teachers. So this is kind of an overview of our distance learning curriculum that we have rolled out recently. All of our resources are student facing and ready to be picked up by students. It was important for us to make sure that teachers didn't have to, have put too much prep time into it. We wanted them to be easy to access and ready to go for teachers. So we have content on energy consulting, water conservation, transportation, waste, and solar design. So all of these resources, except for the solar design curriculum, can be implemented without internet access. As we know, that can be a barrier at times. So the curriculum follows a reader and assignment model. So the students get a little bit of background content that they're going to need to fill out the assignments. And sometimes there's some videos in there, but overall it's easy to for students to read and get everything they need to fill out and participate in the activities. So our curriculum traditionally is very hands-on and very project-based. We really like to get the students participating and building and creating in the projects. And that was something that we tried to keep the energy alive in with the distance learning resources, recognizing that students are going to have different levels of access to things. So we came up with creative questions that got them thinking about topics in cases where we weren't able to get them materials. And then for some of these curriculum pieces, they might need access to some common household materials. For example, there is some design projects in here where they just need like waste from around their house, right? We want them to get creative and reuse when possible. So not a lot of barriers to access or implementation to these, which is great. All right. So in addition to our curriculum, our program also likes to offer opportunities to get students connected to green careers out there. And we're doing that virtually through our Green Careers webinar series. So this webinar series has been taking place. So we have about 12 recorded webinars right now. And it's going to continue to go on through about mid-May. And for this format, we have presentations every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we are out here in California. And students are able to tune in to a variety of presenters, from renewable energy to transportation to forestry. And they listen to these presenters for about 15 minutes, talk about their jobs, how they got to where they are, and the skills that they needed to develop in order to be involved in their career. And then for about 10 minutes after that presentation, students can engage in a Q&A session with these presenters. So that's a really exciting resource that we are putting on during this time of virtual learning, and hope that might be of some interest to y'all to get your students exposed to the green potential out there in the career field. Another resource I want to highlight today from our programs is our Earth Day campaign resources. So, typically we reach out to schools throughout California and work with them to empower the students to host behavior change campaigns on their campuses. So we work with them, giving them all the background knowledge they need to identify what their goals are for the campaign and what they're focusing on. So they pick out of 4 categories: waste, water, energy, or transportation. And then they again, set goals to get people to make sustainable behavior changes at their campus. So this year, with our virtual setting, we have gone remote with all of our resources and redesigned the campaign a little bit to be engaging even at home. So we have students really enter a community mindset and thinking about how they can engage those that they do have access to still make these sustainable behavior changes. So whether that be through a social media campaign, if they have access to those resources, or if they have, maybe if they put like a poster in their window reminding everybody to, you know, reduce their waste at this time, or maybe they leave a, you know, chalk message on the sidewalk for folks walking around their neighborhood. So we've tried to make their campaign options really adaptable as well to what they might be able to do. So if you are if you're a high school teacher in California, then you can actually register to have your students submit their campaign story to win prizes for your school. And otherwise, we are really happy to share all of our campaign resources throughout this country. And there's an easy to follow along participation guide that is easily shareable with students. Okay. So I wanted to highlight this here to show you what y'all are going to be accessing through the Green Schools National Network page. So I'm actually going to change my view here. Let me see, because I have the PDF of the resources pulled up, so I might need to stop share and reshare again. Perfect. Okay, so are you able to see this distance curriculum preview that's up for y'all? Okay, awesome. So this is the landing page for the our distance curriculum. And what we wanted to do here for everybody is give a preview of some of our resources, and then also give you all the instruction that you need to reach out to us and request more. Because as I mentioned, we're really excited to share and make these resources accessible. So I will kind of review the options for items that you can request from us and reach out and access. So we actually have a full curriculum library with content beyond just our distance learning adapted curriculum. And so please feel free to browse this based on your subject and reach out if you're interested in learning more about our wider curriculum library. And we are happy to work with you on adapting any project you see here to a virtual setting. Okay. And you can also request our distance learning resources via our distance learning resource landing page on our website. So here you can see an overview, the Green Careers Conferences, Earth Day, waste, and all these other topics that we cover with our sustainability curriculum. It's also a great place to peruse the upcoming presenters for the Green Careers webinar series that we are hosting. And here you can also access register for Earth Day or request the full curriculum pieces. Okay, we're also happy to share editable versions with you. So we present our curriculum on a Google platform. So once we share the Google resources, you're able to make copies of them and edit them to make them specific to your class and your students. So definitely reach out to request those. We also have answer keys for all of our curriculum as well that we're happy to share. Again, reach out if you want any remote curriculum implementation support from our SEI team. We would love to, do some instructional planning, maybe visit your classroom, especially if you're in California. We can definitely do remote visits and talk with your students. Yeah, and again, Green Careers Conferences and Earth Day. So all the details from my presentation today, you can access on this document that will be linked from the Green Schools National Network website. Okay, and then I briefly just want to kind of review the preview that we have here so it's easy for you to access once you look that up. So we've kind of separated it by, we have one activity from the transportation analysis curriculum, from the solar design curriculum, and from the energy consulting curriculum. So from our energy consultant packet, we have an introduction to sustainability and climate change reader, and then we have them jump into some questions to get them thinking about sustainability in their own life, defining things in their own words, and learning about what climate change and emissions are. Then we take students through an appliance energy conservation activity where they learn about the difference between electrical energy and power, and they conduct an analysis of a coffee maker to understand how much energy do these common household appliances use throughout a year, and what does that mean as far as energy costs and greenhouse gas emissions go. We also have the transportation analysis curriculum where they get an intro to green transportation, watch some videos if they have internet access, and then we bring them through an interesting activity where they actually analyze a road trip that they get to plan and decide, and compare if their vehicle is powered by renewable sources or non-renewable sources, and they can see the greenhouse gas emissions impact of their travel styles. And then the final piece of curriculum that we highlight here is the Solar Design 101. And through this, they get a background in what does it mean, or what factors do you consider when planning and sizing a solar system. And then in the activity, they analyze what are the pros and cons of implementing a solar array in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Right? What does that mean? What factors are going to affect the amount of solar energy you get out of that system? And again, this activity, you would have to do a little bit of Googling on the Mojave Desert, but that info background could be provided to students where they could access and do this. Yeah, so this is everything that I wanted to review today. And I just want to emphasize that our resources are NGSS standards aligned, and we are happy to work with you to make these resources specific to your classroom and your needs. So please reach out. Again, we have this Google form linked here where you can request any resources in full, visit the distance learning website to access resources, or definitely feel free to reach out to us via email at energizeschools@seiinc.org. So whatever way is easiest for you to reach out, we would love to connect with you. And thanks for hearing about our programs today.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Certainly, yeah. those that are here today on our call can get a sense of the high quality that both you and Ecorise bring to this world. And now we're saving that for Andra, who had the article in the Catalyst Quarterly recently. And Andra, we're excited for you to share as well. Thanks for being on and talking about some of the resources that you've helped to put together.
Yeah, great. So great to hear everything. I'm sure people need just a moment to breathe. So do that while I pull up my screen. It was incredible to hear all the great resources at SEI and Ecorise, and we work really closely with both organizations. So it's nice to just see everything and how people are pulling things together. And I will say that we do partner really closely with those organizations, and one of the things that makes us a little different from them is that I'm coming from being in the formal education system. So I work at a county office of education in California, and so the resources that we've developed are really in service of our districts and our schools, but also can be scaled up broadly beyond that. So I'll share a little bit about, I'll just give a little quick context to the role and the work, and then hopefully that'll be clear. So just some quick context to where we're coming from in California. So we have a pretty big amount of people in our formal education system. We're working with 6 million kids and over 1,000 school districts. And so I'm coming from a county office of education. And there's 58 county offices of education in our state, and our role is to serve 23 school districts. And there's quite a few other county offices in the state of California now that have a environmental literacy initiative. We were the first in the county, or first in the state to do that, but now there's a few other leaders as well that some of these resources have been developed in collaboration with other county offices also. So I'll just give a quick context to our county. We're working with 23 school districts in our county that range from extremely small, like 1 to 2 schools, all the way up to like kind of a medium-sized districts of about 25 to 30 schools. And the context is also working with private schools as well, and about over 100,000 students. So we launched an initiative for environmental literacy in 2017 that is meant to really focus on both environmental literacy, but also sustainability. And then we've added this element of climate ready mindset as well after the IPCC report came out in 2018. And a county office doesn't, this is, like I said, this is fairly rare in the state of California to have a leadership initiative of this level. A lot of county offices are more focused around like regulatory issues or direct student programming for the most marginalized students, like in juvenile hall or special ed. So this is a little bit outside of the scope of what some other county offices do. So I'll talk a little bit more about that specifically because it'll tie into all the resources. So when our framework for helping people wrap their head around environmental literacy and sustainability is this idea that this takes place across your campus, across your curriculum, and in community engagement programs. And you could really see that, of course, with SEI and Ecorise's resources, like this idea of like they're doing facilities audits, they're taking action, they're hosting Earth Day events, right? So all that stuff ties into the work that we're doing as well. And our initiative is meant to serve all these different stakeholders. And you'll see that in the resources that they're stakeholders, that they can be student facing, teacher facing, and also administrators as well. One other thing to just note here is that in our work, we have a lot of different programs that we run for schools and school districts that some of them are just for people in San Mateo County, but some also extend beyond. So we run direct capacity building programs for students, for teachers, for administrators. We also run networks of community-based partners and communities of practice. We offer schools customized technical assistance for moving this work forward, and we run an awards program. So we have a lot of overlap and similarities to some of the work that Ecorise and SEI is doing. We just are in the system and really working primarily with one county. So here's a little glimpse of our distance learning resources. One thing I want to share before I go into each of the resources is that we're working with this framework of when you bring environmental literacy in, you can do it in a spectrum, along a spectrum. So some people might bring it in like a supplemental way where it's like an article or homework or like one small lesson. And I'll show you some resources that are meant to be just like supplemental. But our goal is to move people along this spectrum and get people to really like focus on an environmental topic as like a central focus of one unit. And it's also important to us that people start to build in these integrative routines that will help people build a lens of sustainability so that they're doing ongoing research or they're doing ongoing attention to things like systems thinking and analyzing environmental, social, and economic impact, which is the triple bottom line. And then our main goal is to really get teachers to be doing transformative project-based learning that's solutionary focused, where kids are like grappling with problems and moving towards solutions. So you'll see the resources we've developed are along that spectrum of like some can just be total supplemental and some are meant to be like all the way like let's do transformative learning even in this distance learning context. So I'll talk first about the solutionary project-based learning, which is what which David mentioned earlier. That was the article that we had written in February for the Catalyst. And so what we did since then was to put together 2 different frameworks that are ready for like take and teach, where teachers can just take it and go, that complement that article. So solutionary, I'll talk a little bit about solutionary project-based learning first. And I'm hoping that people are pretty familiar with project-based learning. But the idea of solutionary project-based learning is that we really want our students to be grappling with global and local issues and starting to do things to solve them. Because we don't want our kids going through the K-12 system and then graduating like, oh, I've never solved a problem, right? We want them to solve problems all along the way so that they know how to do that. And we need their help at this point, right? Like we really need our students to be solving problems alongside with us because clearly we don't have all the answers. We are taking this philosophy of solutionaries from the work of Zoe Weil, who's at the Institute for Humane Education. And they're really looking at this idea that the world becomes what we teach. So if we're teaching in a solutionary way, then we're going to see solutions happen in the world. And that's at the foundation of these 2 different frameworks that I'll show you. So we have one framework that's really geared towards 6th through 12th grade, and it's because it's meant to be independent. So in this particular framework, the teacher serves more as a coach. And then in our other framework, it's meant to be more teacher-led, but student-driven. And so therefore, it's really appropriate also for K through 5. So we have two different frameworks, and I'll talk us through both of them. So the first one I'll show here is the 6 through 12 independent solutionary project-based learning. And in this situation, students can work independently or in groups. It's really appropriate for asynchronous learning. You really don't need to do too much synchronous interaction, which I think is really important during this time. About half of our school districts are not able to provide online access still to their students. So that's why we made sure to develop some things that could be asynchronous. And in this type of project-based learning, it starts where kids will select a topic. They'll develop a problem statement. They will analyze how the story of this problem came to be. So they'll be looking at a lot of cause and effect. And this is like where history comes in. Then they'll spend some time diagramming out the system and really looking at like what is going on in this situation, like who are the key variables and how are they interacting. They'll uncover some mental models behind the situation. They'll identify where are the leverage points where you can really make change happen. And then they'll do some solutionary design. And we have on our website, we have the whole framework is here. It's developed as this like take and teach. So you can see in this picture, like we've kind of scripted out, like it'll take you like 30 to 60 minutes to introduce this project to kids, whether or not that's through like a video that a teacher films themselves or through like reading or whatever it is. We have all these different examples of how you could roll this out through video or through projects and various things that teachers could do to really get this to students. And so the whole framework is built out that way, where we have like, here's what you're doing, here's a quick description, here's what the teacher does, here's what the student does, and here's the outcome. And then we have a bunch of different like handouts to go along with that. So that's available. And some projects that kids have done that I've worked with in the past and other teachers in our county have done, like we've seen kids analyze something as complex as the prison system, something like the food system, and then something that seems like a little bit like more, you wouldn't think of it always as a system, but kids have analyzed issues like divorce and marriage, and they've looked at popularity and social unrest and racism. So it can be for the environment, but it could also be for social issues. So that's a framework that you can use. Another framework that we have is called our Teacher-Led Solutionary PBL, and that was the main focus of the article I had written in February. And this idea is that teachers are walking students through a 4-phase framework where you start, and usually we'll say like, here are some example topics. Like one could be on energy, on water, on waste. So you spend a little time in the fundamentals phase helping students understand what is water or what is waste, and before you move into analyzing problems. Then once kids have fundamentals down, then you can move them into a problem cycle where they'll look at some of the like more pressing issues facing that particular topic. And typically most topics have like 3 to 5 problems that you could analyze. Oftentimes like our kindergarten teachers will just analyze 1 or 2, whereas our like high school teachers will take all 3 or 4 and really analyze all of them. And then we have some ideas of how you can take kids through a solutionary process where they're actually figuring out what can I do in my local context. So what can I do in my life? What can I do in my community? And what can I do at my school? And so in this case of distance learning, of course, the solutions will be a lot focused around like their life and their home, but not to think that they can't go to the community and school level as well. And the idea for this and also the independent solutionary PBL is that kids are really following a storyline. So what we've done at the county office is we've kind of like shelled out the storyline for people so that teachers are not having to come up with the story. And then that allows teachers to really focus on what's the right pedagogy to bring this story alive for my students. So, and the idea is that they end the story, the students end the story being the main characters who solve the problems. So that's all available for you. We've written one full exemplar where you can actually take it and teach it. It's on the topic of energy, and it's got every single lesson that you would need to teach the topic of energy. We have developed a blueprint. This is like the storyline. And then you can see that we also have a unit plan for K through 2, a unit plan for 3 through 5, and a unit plan for 6 through 12. So that's there for teachers to just kind of take and run. And it takes about 3 to 6 weeks. So it's something that you could close out your year with. We're encouraging students in our county, or sorry, teachers in our county to use this, to kick this off during Earth Week next week and make it the focus of the rest of their year. So I'll just end by saying, similar to the other resources you saw, all of this is standards aligned. Of course, we're in California, so we've aligned it to California standards, but Common Core and GSS is a national, these are national frameworks as well. And then I'll just end with those kind of supplemental resources that we developed. So we have some field research guides, really similar to what Ecorise has, and also SEI, where kids are doing audits of their homes. It's meant to be self, home, school, and community. So teachers can really just focus on self and home right now. We also have some pre-curated WebQuests. When we work with teachers in our professional development programs, we find that one of the hardest things is for them to like take the time to find all these great resources that their kids can do research with. So we've done pre-curated WebQuests that are just ready to take and go. And we have quite a few teachers in our county now that are like, we're just assigning one WebQuest every week, right? Like this week is energy, next week is waste, the next week after that is water. And they're letting kids do online research and then come up with different things from that. And then the last thing that we have are some field trips, some activities, and some storytime resources from our community-based partners, because we work with about 30 different community-based partners who are offering virtual field trips and stuff like that. So those are all the resources we have. If you want to get started, definitely take a look at our website. You can see the links here, and I'll also put the links in the chat box as well.
Great. Thank you, Andra. That was wonderful. And lots of things to digest there, lots of things to think about for you as participants, and thank you, panelists. As I'm pulling up just for the last couple of minutes to share my screen, in the chat window, those that are online with us right now, just put a comment in there. What is something you've liked that you've seen from either Ecorise, SEI, or Andra at San Mateo? What is something that you like, or it's made you think about, or you're perhaps even excited about too? So give us a little bit of feedback, and I'm going to pull up screen to give a final conclusion. Once again, thanks to our panelists today, Chrissy and Jessica and Andra. I really appreciate you all being on today. A couple other things I want to highlight. One is that there is a online course that we promote, that we help to co-develop with Auburn University, called Leading for Green Schools. In this virtual world, it's a great place to start, especially as a school leader or somebody that's helping to lead a school. This is 10 modules to go through, and like I said, it's through Auburn University, but you can find links for that on our course, or on our website. But I will have the this particular PowerPoint, this slideshow up for people to look at and take from as well. But that's something to consider. But thanks for the team that presented today. Also want to just tell you that we do have a webinar similar somewhat to SEI's, but it's just mostly focused on some of our partners, what they've been doing around green careers, that's happening in May. This is our third of our 4 series webinars that we've had this year. Thank you for this team that's been part of this today. And thanks for all of you that are participants. We appreciate you being there. We'll make sure that both these slides and any of the additional links are on our website, but you can go there and go to these organizations' websites as well. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day, and feel free to reach out to us at any point. We'd love to hear from you, and love to continue to support you all in these turbulent times, but times when it gives us a lot of opportunity too. Stay safe and healthy, and grateful for what we're all blessed with. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us on, David. It was fun.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye, David.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I haven't done the webinar format yet, so it's always a little weird to only see the panelists, but it was fun. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.